We are back and we have a special guest with us today that we are very excited about. Tara, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today on your podcast. I'm so excited to get to spend this time with you ladies. So, as you said, my name is Tara. I am an intuitive energy healer, life reinvention expert, and NLP practitioner that works with women, helping to heal them energetically so that they can finally love themselves unapologetically and live the life that they want fully in their authentic form.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
energy healer is words that I might need explained to me.
Most times it is. And if I'm very frank with you, it's a calling that came to me after losing my baby sister just a couple years ago. She died of cancer at the age of 39. And losing her, I've always had my grandma in my life who's superstitious and gave me the fear of the devil's numbers and all these things. And so spiritual things in my life have always been there, but losing Trisha opened me up fully in the intuitive realm of things where I was able to have conversations with her, which is a whole nother conversation to have on a whole next level. I know, I know. This is typically how I roll. I just pull you right deep into it and leave you with your head spinning. But so energy healing, calling into it, I realized that I've always had the ability to hear, intuitively feel. I've always had the ability to understand people's energy or walk into a room and know that something was off, and what was off was the energy of it. There was just an argument. There was just a specific emotion that was reeling through the room. And I never understood what was going on until losing Trisha and being pulled into the ability to be able to feel the energy in each individual's body. And for me, I've been a weight loss coach for women for over 12 years. And so naturally, it's just the space working with women. And when we work in the energy, it's actually understanding the discarnate as well as the stagnant, the foreign energies and imprints that have been placed in our body. So it blocks it. We're all energy, and energy is supposed to flow through our body, just like we've got our cardiovascular system where we've got blood flowing through our body. We also have energy flowing through our body. So oftentimes we talk about that, like, I need more energy. I'm so tired. I wish I could have more energy. And we say it so naturally, like it's just normal for us to want energy. And that is what it truly is life force energy. And as a collective of humans and animals and items in this world, we all have the same energy that we share. And so in our body, when we don't have fluid flowing energy going through our body, we start to experience blockages. And these blockages are what cause us to have ailments, disease, where energy is not able to flow. Therefore, it becomes stagnant. A part of our body will become stagnant. And then that part of our body begins to decay or not be able to heal fully. That's the physical realm. Where I dive into, that is the wildest place for me, is our subconscious, where we live behind the limiting beliefs that we believe to be true for us. For women, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable enough, I don't deserve happiness. These limiting beliefs that are actually energetically blocking us from loving ourselves and showing up authentically, that's where I spend my day with my women, healing them and releasing those beliefs from their mind so that they can live in their life being exactly who they want to be.
Oh my God, I have so many more questions now.
I know.
That's the
I know
point.
you do too, Laura. I see them brewing.
I do. I mean, the first question I have is like, okay, so if a listener's like hearing this, it's like, okay, maybe I had these blocks in my body.
Mhm.
How do people recognize like moments versus states? Like, if I see what is an ASPCA commercial of like a sad dog trying to get us to like donate money, right? Like I have
Right.
a moment where I feel energetic sadness and then I process through it and kind of move. Like, but then there's obviously different circumstances where the energy will get stuck and kind of stored in your body. How
Mhm.
do you help people understand their own energy to recognize if that's just like a moment that they're witnessing and experiencing an emotion versus like a state that needs to work through to clear the block.
Yeah, I love that you ask it in that way, actually, because a moment is a moment. It comes in, you process it, and it's past, and you're able to continue to move forward without it becoming a cycle where it's consistently happening over and over. It's with you day in and day out. Sometimes we will see. So, for instance, when you use commercials, because they're so fantastic at pulling at those emotions. So, the Budweiser commercials that would play during the Super Bowl. There was one specific that was a horse one. And well, they're all horse ones,
Yeah.
obviously. But the one specific one was where the horse was sold to another farm and he happened to find him again in the street. And even just talking about this brings emotions to me because I grew up with horses
Mm,
and horses were the pets of my stepdad. And when I was 8 years old, I found out that my stepdad was not my dad, and I had no idea that
mm.
he wasn't. And that was a moment in my life that radically turned my life upside down. And actually, in my signature keynote, this is the opening story that I talk about how my life fell apart. And this is where the start of me becoming a life reinvention expert is finding out that I no longer belonged in my family, or so I believed. And so that the way we understand that it's an energy that's blocked within us is when I saw that emotion, I started to bawl and then I started to have all these emotions that started to come forward of how I could resonate with that horse, how I felt, how that horse felt, how I was angry at that man for selling and that horse and abandoning that horse this horse has been looking for him for all these times and never forgotten him. And I felt all this anger surfacing and then it started to flow into my relationship, how I started to think about my husband probably would just get rid of me and abandon me. And it just continued to boil and boil and boil. When we experience that something gets completely out of hand from one split second of watching something, it begins to trigger all of this programming to come to the surface, and all these limiting beliefs start to come with it, and it boils over. It's like a volcano that just starts to boil over, and before we know it, we've spun out and exhausted ourselves with all these beliefs. And so that's energy that's flowing, energy that's not ours. It's energy that is just radically going through our mind and through our body. That's how I can help to determine when this is energy that's not ours. Does that answer your question?
I think it answers it from like from how you communicate with others and experience it as the listener. Like if I'm the one who's trying to decipher what my energy is, I
Mhm.
don't know if I have clarity in that. Is
Mm,
that part of what you teach is like how they can recognize when
yes.
they have an energetic imbalance? Like what type of language do you use to help them recognize it's an imbalance versus a moment?
Well,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
it's
Go ahead.
it sounded to me like you were saying when you have a trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're triggered. Yeah.
Like
And
when
when
you
you
notice
feel,
that you're triggered. I don't know. That's what it
yeah.
sounded like to me.
And when you feel totally out of sorts, where you're feeling like confused about this, why do I feel like this? And there's just these strong emotions that are coming forward that you can't explain and you don't understand. And you're trying to get control and reason through it. And you just feel like you can't get a reasoning through it, where you feel like you're just stuck in it. You're completely stuck in it, and nothing that you try to do to get to the other side of it, you just keep feeling like you're getting pulled back into it. And you just remain stuck on a cyclical cycle of being stuck. And it keeps on coming through. Those are moments where you can tell that it's energy that's not yours. Another great example is you're in a situation and all of a sudden you find yourself saying or thinking things that you don't feel is true,
Mm.
but you blurt it and then you stop for a second and you're thinking, why did I just say that? What in the hell was that? I don't believe that. Where did that come from? And you feel like you are trying to show up to fit in, but in reality, that oftentimes can be discarnate energy that's surfacing and it's living through you and using your voice as its voice in order to live through its purpose.
Okay, definitely clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I can like trigger to me can be so superficial or deep. Like I can see a commercial of homeless dogs and like I love dogs. So like that can trigger sadness for me. And I can think of different horrific things I've seen, not necessarily in my personal life, but just on the news or things of that nature. But then I've had different, more personalized experiences where I hear about a friend or a colleague or even my own disagreements with people. And like that's a different energy. And I have one other question, and then I'll let Alicia go on her question path. Uh, do you feel like all energy requires an analytical explanation?
No, I don't think so. I honestly don't. Sometimes I think that energy is what it is there. And I feel like we have to overanalyze everything. That's just the human nature of things. But sometimes I think that energy is what it is and it's meant to be there for the purpose of why it's there. I feel like it should be analyzed when it's starting to cause extreme issues for you. Then I feel like if you're being pulled out of the ability to be yourself, then yes.
So let me give you an example just to make, because I'm a contextual learner, so I'm sure some of our listeners are too, just to make sure I'm understanding. Like a couple weeks ago, I was just kind of like down in a lower energy. There wasn't anything specific that was like that you could point to. It was about to be that time of the month. I had some trips coming up, so I could have been anticipating that. I had some familial things that I was processing, so it could have been that. But like when I thought about these different things, like and attuned to my own energy, I wasn't like I didn't notice the heat changing or the tension changing. It was just kind of like, here are some things that it could be, and none of them felt like it was it. And I didn't have as much of a challenge with it as my husband did because he wanted to understand what I was experiencing. But I more or less said, like, listen, it could be this, this, or this. But what I know is I'm just feeling a little bit lower and a little bit lethargic, and like that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
is that a scenario where I don't necessarily need to dig into it because it's not like it was a day and then we were kind of back in flow.
Yep. You
Okay.
knew it. You were listening to your body and you knew that it was okay. You knew you were fine. You knew that you were in the moment of what you were needing to be in. There was a reason for it. And you didn't need to understand because if you needed to understand the reason of why you were feeling lethargic and tired and kind of in the funk of things, that would have been present to you because you were supposed to know. But for whatever reason, you were needing to just have a down day. And I think these moments come. It's the same thing as coming to a stop sign and you always turn left, but for some reason you have to turn right. And you turn right and you just avoided a head-on collision,
Right. And you never know.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can sit there at that stop sign and overanalyze and overanalyze and overanalyze. And then finally we just decide to go left because that's what we think we're supposed to always do, overanalyze it. And then we end up putting ourselves in a predicament that we can't get ourselves out of.
Mm.
And I think for you, you knew that it was just a day that you needed to have. It was a moment. It was everything's in divine timing. It's not coincidental that you were having that. Some reason. Maybe you had a bug. Like if we wanted to analyze it, maybe you had a bug coming through and your body needed to rest in order to heal it, right?
Yeah.
And because you didn't overanalyze it, you allowed your body to have exactly what it needed to have. Now, if it would have been 2 days in, still feeling it, then I'd be like, all right, Laura, I think we need to start really looking at what's going on because this is not your typical.
All right,
But
cool.
no, I think you did exactly what needed to be done. And obviously you did because you came to the other side of it feeling fine.
Yeah. And I mean, this is totally remnants of my weekend, but there's a part of a song from this moment, and I can't sing, so
Yeah.
like
Faith
bear with
Hill.
me. But like that is like as soon as you started talking about like it's this just this moment from this moment, I'm like, and now that song is in my head. But hopefully you enjoyed my horrible singing voice.
That was
Alicia,
amazing.
That
much
was
more beautiful.
great. I was very proud of you for just confidently belting it out. Very
Oh
good.
yeah, no, I don't care. People judge. I don't judge. I'm me. It is.
I
You
love
know,
that.
It is. It is. It
it
just
is. It just is.
um
Good.
okay, my turn.
Your
Back.
turn. All
Yeah.
right.
All right, so I want to go back because you said that once you lost your sister, you could feel energy differently. Is that how you said
Yeah.
it? Okay, I want to know about that.
Yeah. So do you want me to like give you how it all like
Sure.
transpired and okay. All right. So we lost her June 3rd And in July, my husband and I went on our anniversary and we went to Stillwater, Minnesota. And I think that it's just a beautiful town. And I think it's just so spiritual in its own way of all the lives that have been there and all that this town has experienced. And the very first day that we arrived, we were there for 5 days. The very first day we walked out of our hotel room and I clearly heard, I need you to get a gift for mom from me. And I had no doubt it was from Trisha. And I thought it was the oddest thing I'd ever heard. And I was like, whatever. And I ignored it. And so we went about, and I kept hearing this. Like it would just weave into my head all of a sudden. I'd be in a store. I need you to get a gift for mom from me. Yes, Laura.
Quick clarity question just for the like hearing, right? Like obviously
Yeah.
someone outside isn't saying this. Like was
No.
it when you say you hear it, was it like witnessing a thought that wasn't yours?
Yeah, so it's like what I learned in the moment I didn't know it's clairsentience, the ability to hear. Now it comes in my voice, it's my voice, but
Okay.
I know it's not me saying it, but it's in my voice, right?
Okay. Okay.
And it's for me, it's like all of a sudden I also, because I can see it, I see the sentence just flowing into my head. So it's like I hear it and I see the sentence, these words just coming into my head. And everybody's different. We're all
Yeah.
intuitive. We all have this ability. It's whether we choose to go deep into it, right?
Thank you
And
for thank
so, yeah, yeah, no, thanks for asking for clarity. I kept hearing this. So finally, on the fifth day, we're getting ready to go home. I look at my husband, who is a big skeptic, does not believe any of this at all. And I said, okay, babe, Trisha wants me to get a gift for mom. He's like, okay. And I'm like, I've been hearing it for 5 days. I've not said anything. I can't ignore this anymore. He's like, all right. So now I'm feeling spicy because I'm getting all this judgment from my husband. He thinks I'm an idiot. I'm feeling stupid because I'm hearing things, first experience of this. And so I say in my mind to Trisha, okay, where is this fucking gift I'm supposed to get for mom? I'm just angry. And she says at the gift shop. Ladies, we walked past this gift shop every single day that we were in Stillwater, Minnesota. I had no idea that there was a gift shop there. You had to walk up 3 steps to get into this gift shop. I've never seen anything like this. It was right on the corner. It was at the end of the block from our hotel. So we go up the stairs and walk into this gift shop. And I said, well, where is it? She goes, go straight ahead, straight, and then turn right, turn right, turn right. Now I think I'm being led on a wild goose chase by my own mind with this most ridiculous thing that I'm putting myself through. And so I'm standing in the corner of this gift shop and I've just walked almost a complete circle. And I said, where is this thing? And she says, right there on the bottom shelf. And when I say she says, again, it's the voice that's coming in. Trisha's not there. And I look down on the bottom shelf. Now, what's important for you to know is right before Trisha passed, my mom and her were sewing coffee cup coasters to keep Trisha busy. She had cancer, her lungs were full, so we needed to just keep her moving. The other thing you need to know about Trisha is she was 4'9", and so she had a bone disease. She was short. She was short. And on the bottom shelf was a coffee cup on a coaster, and it said, "I will always love you. I will always be with you, your short one." That was what Trisha was called, was the short one. And I knew in that moment that I was not hearing things. I knew that it was her. And I bought that coffee cup and I gave that to mom. And that night, when I gave that coffee cup to my mom, her and my dad were sitting outside with the coffee cup, and a bird flew to the table and sat right there on the table with them outside. And that was just a confirming moment that I knew that I had heard Trisha, I'd followed through. Following that moment, I began to feel different energy moving through my body. I'd walk up to people and I'd feel an energy. And so I started asking questions. And for instance, one of mine is one of my best friends. She's open to anything. And I said, are you feeling really anxious right now? She goes, yes. How do you know that? I said, I don't know. I just know you are. And so I started to go deeper into it and asking the questions about the anxiety. And I allowed myself to, I said, can I just pull you in? I had no idea what this language meant, but I was being told to pull her in. And I pulled her in and I was able to visually see the things. I said, you had an argument with your husband this morning. It was around money and it was also about the bathroom remodel that you want to do. She never told me about this, but I knew it. So I was able to pull that knowledge from her to understand exactly what was going on. So opening up led me to be able to feel that energy in other people's body, and I felt it in my own. And intuitively, I was able to bring their experience into mine, which is how I'm able to heal. Because now I know where energy is within the body. I know where you're blocked. If I were to pull you ladies in, I'll only ever do it with permission. I'm able to feel where you've got the pain, where you've got some blockages. I can bring in visuals to understand where it might be. Is it from your childhood? Is it a past life? Was it currently? Was it an injury? And then we can heal it by moving it out of your body.
So, but you did not have that skill until your sister passed, or you just didn't know you had the skill, maybe? I don't know.
I believe I always had it. I just didn't know that I had it. I had a friend probably 8 years ago now. I was training, I'm a personal trainer as well as a nutrition coach, and I was training her here at my house. And she came in, she goes, can I tell you something really weird? I'm like, yeah, that's not a problem. Like, I'm open to whatever. She goes, no, it's really weird. I'm like, just Sandy, just tell me. She said, I see dead people when I come into your yard. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is not what I was expecting.
Damn.
Right? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, no, like they're just they come, they're spirits. I'm like, well, why are they here? She goes, because you are open. You call them in. You can hear them. I'm like, no, I can't. And she said, well, it's because you won't. I'm like, well, there's probably a reason for it. Now I'm totally open. Now when I do card readings, I have mediumship. It's easy and I actually truly love it.
Oh man. So I have a psychic.
Yes.
Or it's gonna
Okay. I love it.
going somewhere with this, I promise.
Yeah.
She's Native American and she's the spiritual leader in her tribe. And
Oh,
um so to me, I don't know, that gave her like more legitimacy, I guess. Like it's not just somebody trying to take your money kind of thing.
yep.
Because you have to worry about that
You do.
in this day and age. Um, and it sounds like she does a lot of the same type of thing that you're talking about. And I'm
Yep.
super interested in this kind of stuff. There's also a lady I follow on TikTok and Facebook, and she calls herself an intuitive healer. And
Yep.
I've done a reading with her before, and it was interesting because I had recently seen a client who had a really bad sexual trauma story. And I've heard lots of sexual trauma stories, and I'm not bragging about that. I'm just this is
Right.
it's just common in the work that I do. So most of the time they don't really sit with me, but her
Hmm.
story was really sitting heavy with me. It was really brutal. And
Yep.
when we did the reading or whatever, she asked me if I had a sexual trauma, and I told her that I hadn't. And she said, well, do you know where this might be coming from? And I was like, this is the only thing I can think of. And so she was telling me that it's important for me as a practitioner to be careful of my energy. And I'm
Hmm.
curious, like, what do you tell people, like, as far as holding on to, because certain things do hit harder for whatever
Yep.
reason than other things. So how do you handle that, and how do you tell other people to handle that?
Yeah, it's so important, and we do not learn about this. We don't know about this. So, when you're an empath, which Alicia, you clearly are an empath, you absolutely are. So, we all have energetic fields. It's called our aura, right? And so, you either have it goes out. We all have a different like length of how far it goes out in our body. And when you have that aura, whether you're virtual, whether you're in person, if you're ever standing, a great way to explain this is if you're standing in a grocery store line, all of a sudden you're like, I'm pretty sure somebody's behind you. And you look behind you because all of a sudden the hair stood up in the back of your neck. Well, somebody just walked in, got into your space, and your auras kind of met. And that just like piqued your interest to know somebody's behind you. So for you as a practitioner doing what you're doing, you do want to protect your energy. Now you can do that by protecting, putting I like to look at it like a snow globe. I was just looking for I have like a glass ball. So I always use this as an example. But like a snow globe. globe. I always see myself like I ground myself to Mother Earth. So it's allowing yourself to just see whatever element wants to come up through the earth, through the bottom of your feet, and then pulls you down into earth. And you just ground yourself. You ground right to Mother Earth. Clear yourself with an element of wind, water, or fire, whatever works. Mine is always fire. Some people have a different one every single day. See it come in through your crown chakra, just flowing all the way through your body, out through your feet, and you're just clearing yourself. You're clearing yourself of all negative energy, all energy that doesn't belong to you, all energy that no longer serves you, anything and everything that is blocking your ability to be in your best work or your best space. Clear yourself, and then you put this bubble around you and you just protect yourself. All negative energy bounces off my bubble. Only that for which is my highest good is allowed inside my bubble. That
That's
gives you
kind
that
of what
ability.
my psychic said too.
Yes. See? So you want to protect. Now, when you do that, anything that is not meant for you cannot come in that bubble. It cannot. I do this and I have arguments with my husband, and they're my most favorite arguments because nothing bothers me. And it used to absolutely wreck me. I was triggered so deeply. Now that I do this protection mode before walking into a conversation I know is going to be a difficult one, I make my husband sound like he's terrible. He is not at all. It's just triggers from my
Married
childhood.
to him, so he can't be that bad.
No, it's my own fears that make it absolutely horrific. But now when I protect myself, if it's not meant for me, any snarky remark he makes doesn't bother me. Now, if it does come into your bubble, there is something that is meant for you. So then I always recommend reground, clear, and protect. Go back into it. It takes you like a split second. You can just be like, okay, ground, clear, protect. Go back in. If it's still there, it's meant for you. Absolutely. There's something in there that you are supposed to be connecting with. And then you always want to clear at the end of the night. And you can find so many things. Like if you go to YouTube, you can find a guided meditation for clearing energy. There's a lot of great ones out there. I would look for the ones that have the higher views, the more likes. Those are great ones. And they typically are 5 minutes or less, where you can just clear out all the energy that doesn't belong to you. Or you can just do what I told you with the ground clear protect. Same thing.
Okay.
So I recommend that you do that after every single session with a client. I recommend that you do it before and then at the end of the day.
You know,
Laura, you were
my
going to say something?
acupuncturist told me that too. He said you have
Yeah.
to he sent me a zip up meditation that was like zip up your energy or something like to protect yourself.
Yep. Yep.
But he was like, I can't believe you're not doing that. You should be doing that.
You absolutely should. And when you do it enough, Alicia, what starts to happen when you clear, you'll see like black puffs leaving your body. When you really drop into it, and that's the energy that's leaving your body that doesn't belong to you. It's the negative, it's the imprints, the beliefs that your clients left with you. Because when you're open and you give them what they need, they pass that on to you. They share that with you. But also, it's important for you and all of us to know, all of your listeners, you give your energy away as well.
Mhm.
We give our energy to people that we spend time with. So we become a puzzle that has missing pieces. Therefore, we're not whole anymore because a part of us is now with somebody else. Now, when you clear energy, you also can call that energy back just by simply saying, I call back all energy that's mine that I have given to others. I call it back now and demand that it return back to me.
Now, is that going to hurt them?
No,
Oh,
no, because honestly, your energy is in their body. That's your thoughts and your beliefs that they've now taken on.
okay.
And that's not in alignment with
Stuff like
them.
that. Like I hear you in my head.
Right? Yeah. So you want your energy back. So you're not now clouding their body with beliefs, thoughts, and feelings that don't resonate with them. They don't understand where it's coming from. They don't know why they're thinking this. Well, it's because your energy is just taking up space, residency in their body. So when you call it back, you give them, you take out the weeds in their body. They're not weeds to you, but they're weeds to them.
Interesting.
I did have a question. You mentioned how, before you're going into certain conversations, you'll like ground yourself and set yourself
Mhm.
up, right? Um, Have you ever found yourself in circumstances where you weren't anticipating a hard conversation or a challenging dynamic, so like you didn't prepare necessarily?
Yeah.
And how did that affect you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If I think back to years past before learning this technique, every conversation would trigger me because I had no idea what was going on in my body. I had no idea the healing that I needed to take place, the limiting beliefs that I was living behind, the trauma responses of fight, fret, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all of those trauma responses from my childhood and past life experiences that I had carried through. So most difficult conversations left me with the belief I was being abandoned. So here's a great example of what just happened yesterday. We're out on the boat, my husband and I, and we're talking about just family and his family and a get together. And I have the hugest fear about having these big gatherings with my husband for no reason, none at all. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And it drives me bonkers that I have this fear that when we're with his family, I'm going to be abandoned and not wanted and kicked out. And the whole premise of it is because I am nothing like them. Nothing. I
Mm.
have brown hair, brown eyes. They are all blue eyes, and most of them are blonde hair and nothing like them. Now, the reason why this is important is that's how I grew up. My mom and my stepdad, who will always be my dad, and my two sisters, blonde hair, blue eyes. And then here is me,
Aw.
entirely different. And I feared abandonment because my biological dad, that looked like me, acted like me. I mean, every bit of me was a mirror looking at that man when I finally met him at 12, and then he died when I was 15. So, anybody that looks like me, right? Like, or if I'm not, I just fear abandonment always. And so yesterday I had this full on, I hadn't protected, had this conversation about it. I started to spin out, I started to spiral, I started to panic. And finally my husband is noting what's going on. He goes, "Babe, what's going on?" I'm like, "I'm just I'm just afraid." He's like, what is there to be afraid of? I'm like, "Well, what if you decide you don't want me?" And I'm like, as I'm saying this, I'm like, this is so ridiculous. We've been married for 12 years. What the hell? It's not like we've been dating for 6 months. And I then stopped. I was like, just give me a second. I need to ground. I need to clear. I need to protect. Just give me a second. And I did that. And I was able then to correlate with what was going on. I was able to pull myself out of it and realize, okay, this is where it's coming from. This is a fear that I can choose to believe or I can choose to let go because the awareness is this is only an old paradigm of programming that is coming to the surface.
Mm.
So I think I answered your question beyond what you were asking, but
That was a
Yeah,
great example.
it's a great example of a relatable one. I'm sure we both have had our moments. Well, all three of us had our moments. Obviously, you just shared
right.
yours. And I think like I've when you told Alicia she's an empath, she smirked at me because I know that I'm also an empath. And something that I've struggled with was like when it's the impromptu out of nowhere conflict. Like I went and dog sat for a dog and we didn't know it, but like that was the last weekend of the dog's life. And like I could feel the dog's pain taxing me regularly,
Mhm.
and I like had to leave the space in order to just kind of like breathe without that kind of pain for a little bit. So it's a pretty interesting thing to observe because learning how to protect your energy isn't something people talk about. And like
No.
one of the things you mentioned about how like we kind of we're open for access. So like when people are around us, they're taking parts of our energy, especially as a coach and a therapist, that like
Yep.
it's literally our nature is to help empower others to be their best selves within their completeness, right?
Yep.
So learning to differentiate that and to not be taxed by others. It's interesting to hear another energy guided intuitive healer kind of talk about it because I'm very curious to hear what Alicia has to say because her and I have had multiple conversations because I'm very like energetic in my body. She typically hears things in her head. So when we share experiences, it's like night and day, but very eye-opening.
Love
Uh,
it.
so it takes me to two kind of questions.
Hmm.
One is about like the energy tax that you experience. Like I know your ground, clear, protect. does, I assume your energy has a capacity to a certain degree. Is that a safe
Absolutely.
assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as what you can handle of what you take
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Like, how do you recognize when your energy is more taxed than you would prefer?
Yeah. So obviously you're tired. You're extremely tired. You're feeling like you've got nothing in the tank. I also find for me and a lot of my clients that you become emotional and you start reaching to, for me it's food. I was 338 pounds. So my go-to is always food. So when I find myself reaching for the sugar and reaching for that, I know something's going on. And if my day has just been going and I've been busy with clients and it's been a fantastic day, but all of a sudden I'm going to the pantry and I'm feeling tired, there's nothing that has created that other than what could have been, which is I've taken on their energy. I've allowed myself to be an open vessel to take that on. So when I've got nothing, I haven't ran a 5K, I've not been out shoveling chicken poo, I've not been doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden I'm tired and feeling emotional, I know that I've taken on energy. Irritation. You can be extremely irritated, just like quick, like fly, no reason for it. You're just irritated. You're happy 1 second and go lucky. And before you know it, all of a sudden you're on the flip side of it and you are mad and you don't understand what's going on. That can be a true sign that you've just taken on somebody else's discarnate energy. Discarnate energy is a past life that has not passed over because of trauma, addiction. They won't pass over. My biological dad passed 31 years ago and he will not pass over. Will not. He has his reasons, and I cannot get him to reason with me to pass over. He takes up residency in a living form in order to live out his purpose. That's
Hmm.
what they do. So they can come in. This is so important for us to know. When you decide you're going to go for a goal, you're going to make a change, you're going to shift your life, you decide you want to lose weight, you want to eat healthier, you want to stop drinking alcohol or whatever it is, whatever you decide that you want to do, you want to journal or you want to read 5 pages of a good, healthy book every single day. And all of a sudden you start feeling angry every time you go to do those things. You're like pissed off about it. And you're like, why am I mad about this? I just said I wanted to do it. I was excited about this 2 days ago. Now I'm angry. That's discarnate energy pelting you because you are threatening their ability to live out their purpose in you because you're choosing to do something that is going to cause them to no longer have space in your body. You're clearing it out by choosing healthier choices. So they're feeling threatened. Now they're going to do everything they can to keep you rooted in doing what you've been doing so that they can continue to take up space in your body and live out their purpose.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have one last question from this side of the
Mhm.
screen. Because you kind of mentioned it as like the, with you're feeling like completely taxed and excessively tired. I'm curious your perception on this because I've noticed that like we live in a like energized addiction state. Like
Oh
we're always
gosh, yeah.
drinking caffeine. We need to be energized. And it's like we view tired as this negative thing about us versus a signal. And like it's something I've noticed within myself, something I've worked on of like, no, it's okay to just be tired and do things. I don't need to caffeinate myself with that.
Yeah.
Have you witnessed this energetic or energized addiction, and how do you differentiate between like, I guess, healthy tired and like overtaxed tired?
Yeah. I witness it in myself. I witness it in my clients. We feel because we have the belief that success requires hard work. We feel like we always have to be energized in order to do the hard work. That's where we get our worth, right? Most times, especially as women, we're worthy if we've done this. And we need a lot of energy to do this. So we become addicted to the energy for the purpose of keeping our worth. So I experience it in that realm of reasoning as well as feeling that I need to have all this energy to get all these things done. Now, I'd love to rely on the energy drinks. I have found myself wanting to have that, but I've learned instead of doing that, if I actually just sit and I allow myself to go into a meditation, whether it's guided, whether it's just sitting silently and allowing myself to clear out anything that doesn't belong to me, or allow myself to just hear what's going on in my body. Like, I love to see myself going down a path and meeting up with my higher self and asking her, what do I need to know? What's going on in my body? I am feeling extremely tired. I feel like I can't get each thing done today. What's happening? And she will guide me and have conversations. And she tells me things I don't like to hear oftentimes, but they're necessary. And when I come back out of that, typically the energy is there. I've got the energy because I've just unloaded a whole load of stuff that was weighing me down and keeping me in this very tired state.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That
Interesting.
sounds like what you were describing last week when we talked, Laura. You said you were really tired, you were resisting the urge to have caffeine, and you just sat with yourself right before we talked.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're already doing that, sis. Just had to point that out.
I'll
Which
take the call out. Thanks, girl.
I love that, which is a healing thing because you experience what you needed to experience rather than live behind the can of energy drink that gave you the energy, then you would have totally avoided what you needed to go through.
Right. And I mean, it's definitely not a perfect practice. It's just something I recognize. And like, it's interesting again to hear another verbiage of it because I used to struggle with a lot of what you've talked about, like this productivity overload and needing to kind of get my worth somewhere else. And
Mm,
through my own coaching experience, like I really have understood the difference between like just embodied self-worth versus like earned perception of self-worth. And when I think about the preference of an energized state, the first word that comes up to me is trust.
ah, I like
It's not
that.
about what I produce as much as like I feel more almost attuned to myself in an energized state, and it gives me more trust in what I do, even if that doing
Mm,
is being, if I'm
yeah,
choosing to just meditate, I trust that that is what's calling for me. And as strange as it is, because we are speaking in the energetic realm, like it's very unrealistic to think someone can always be energized, right? And
right.
in a contrary view, perhaps, like to me, I view tired almost as like necessary from like a meaningful day. Like if
Hmm.
I've lived a valuable day, I'm going to be tired. And
Yes,
I don't now excessively taxed, tired to different states. Like one is like overwhelmed, but in the negative of tax, I guess.
right.
But learning to expand my sense of trust in my own ability in what I do when I'm tired is kind of like the journey that I'm walking right now. Is just having a greater degree of acceptance with a sense of built trust from experiencing my ability, tired or energized.
I love that. And you're really letting yourself feel the feels. Like you're just letting yourself feel it. You're not numbing yourself. You're not using a drug of choice, right? To be able to numb yourself and not feel it. You're letting yourself feel what you need to feel, and that's giving you self-awareness. And that self-awareness is allowing you to meet yourself where you need to be met so that you can go through each journey of your life, experiencing exactly what you need to experience. And that's bringing you to a higher level version of yourself. It's a beautiful practice that you're doing.
Thank you. That is the goal. And I totally lied. I say this all the time that I only have one question. I got another. Um, I'm sorry, okay? I promise I will let you have it, but this is like staring at me on my screen that emotions are expressions of beliefs.
Emotions are expressions of beliefs. Okay?
Right? So we've been talking about limiting beliefs, how we experience it, emotions, energy in motion, right? That's one of the
Yeah.
main formats that we experience energy in. And I feel like so many of us were raised with like emotions are good or bad, acceptable or non-acceptable based on how the external environment we were raised in had capacity to hold space for those emotions or not. So if someone's trying to evolve, you've talked about limiting beliefs, you're clearly well versed in energy. Do you agree? What's your perception that emotions are expressions of beliefs?
I do agree. I do agree that emotions are expressions of beliefs. I also believe that beliefs create emotions,
Hmm.
right? And a belief is just a thought that you've continued to think over and over and over. I mean,
Right.
that's really what it is, but they create an emotion within. And that emotion that is there, I believe, surfaces because it's programmed within you. And it's your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind protecting you. So if you've experienced something in the past, let's say that you're in a job. We'll just say that you're in a job and you need to ask permission for time off. And the last time that you went, you got yelled at and you got ridiculed in front of a number of people. Now you're in this situation where you now again need to ask for time off because somebody in your family's not well and they need to be taken to the doctor and you're the only one. That emotion that comes forward is fear. I can't ask for that, right? And that is because your subconscious mind is protecting you and saying, remember what happened last time you felt like an idiot. And so it's going to protect you. So I do feel, I mean, on the whole realm of things, yeah, I do think that it absolutely is tied together.
Hmm. Well, thank you. I will let that be my last question because I thought it would be.
I know you have more in there.
Of course, I have a million, but I am a team player.
Um, Honestly, I feel like we might need another podcast with you because uh I,
Because you're great.
yeah,
Oh,
that.
thank you.
But
Thank you.
also I started, I don't even know where it started, to be honest. I remember going to a training with Dr. Dan Siegel, and he was talking about his definition for the mind. And he was saying nobody
Mm.
had a definition for the mind. So he went down a whole rabbit hole trying to come up with a definition for the mind. And of course, his definition is super complicated, but he says that if I had to boil it down, he basically says that it has to do with the energy inside your body, the energy between you and other people, and this constant flow of energy and all these things that impact this flow of energy. So, and he was saying, you can't separate the mind from the body, it's all one thing. And he's gone around and done presentations on this and written books and whatever. And people that don't like his definition of the mind, they don't like this spiritual element coming in. He said some
Hmm.
people do, some people who are more inclined to a spiritual side like it, but a lot of other people are really resistant to it. And then I owned a wellness spa for a while. I did not know that in the wellness world, spirituality was very interconnected. I had no idea that I was
Hmm.
getting myself into that. So I started learning a lot about that kind of thing from my practitioners and different people that I was interacting with. And then then the alien thing happened, which is bear with me for a second, but went down a rabbit hole with aliens and it led to meditation somehow and consciousness. And I was like, whoa, I don't understand. All this stuff is connected. Like this is crazy. So since then I've been like obsessed with consciousness and the layers of consciousness, and I don't pretend to understand it all. I think that you probably have a much better understanding of these things than I do. And I've been trying to figure this shit out for years now. Like it's of serious interest to me. So, and I imagine that we could probably spend a whole hour talking about that, but I'll bring it back to the basics of just energy, period. And one of the things that I keep hearing from both of you, you and Laura, not you and your other personalities. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, damn, I told him not to show up.
Your dad, your sister. No. Um, is that you are paying attention to yourself and you're paying attention to your energy and you're paying attention to the energy that you're picking up from other people. And I think probably on a more rudimentary level for myself, I know that I feel people's energies. Like I can tell when my clients come in the room what kind of energy they're in. So I know that I can feel it and I know that I'm attuned to it to a certain degree, but I don't
Mhm.
think that I have the deep understanding of it, even to the degree that Laura does, because Laura talks about I forget what she said to me in the car one day, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I know that my understanding of these things is still limited and I'm still interested in learning about it. But for the rest of the people listening, if they're also interested in energy, it sounds to me like what we're saying is the best thing you can do is start paying attention to how your
Mhm.
body feels, to how your emotions feel, and how all that energy feels.
Yep. Yeah,
Yes,
and just
and
go
can
ahead.
I want to tee you up for something here because I agree with what Alicia's saying. And I feel like energy has its own language. Like it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
use English, right? So
Yeah.
could you briefly speak to like if someone is going to start trying to attune to their own energy, what would they be noticing, looking for? What is the language of energy for them to create that deeper connection?
Absolutely. So for me and what I've experienced and what I've heard in things that I've read is energy does have its own language of how it shows up, and it makes no sense how it shows up. But it shows up in the way of what you know. And what I mean by that is if you've never experienced it, it can't be in your mind because you've not ever experienced it. So you won't understand it. So it has to come to you in a way that you're going to understand some way, somehow. It needs to be explanatory to you. So for you, Alicia, to hear Laura speaking about something that she experienced in energy, if you've never experienced something like that, it's not going to land because you're not going to be able to visualize it. You're not going to be able to see it. Energy is oftentimes like you have to have seen it in order to feel it or to bring it in because it's got awareness in your body. It's now like a painted picture that's just been the door's been opened and it's been held there and it's just being stored for a future purpose. So energy is going to come in different ways. You might just have a knowing of it where I love to ask the question, what do I need to know? And I just allow whether it comes in as a thought in my head, whether it's a feeling, and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I feel something there. And you just look, you decide to look, whether you're outside and all of a sudden something is right there and it's very significant to what you need to know. But when you're asking that question, what does this mean for me? Tell me more. What else do I need to know? What do I need to know in order for you to help me? Like when you start asking those questions, naturally God, the universe, the higher power, whoever you speak to, is going to start giving you the messages that you need. And it's going to come in the way that you're open to accepting. Some people can taste. Some people, when they do mediumship, they taste. There is no hell and way I ever want to taste. I am not open to it, so I will not. Some people smell. I love smelling things, but I am very subjective to the things that I will smell. I am not ever going to learn that. I don't want that. I am closed it off. So it's what you'll allow to come in as far as how you will experience the energy. A great thing to know is all of a sudden, if you feel like a pressure or a warmth, usually that could be a spirit that's with you, a past loved one. And there's significance to that to know. Like my grandpa is always my left side. When he was alive, he was always on my left side. Every picture we see is always my left side. Always. So, does that answer your question? It's such a hard question, like to really give because everybody's
So
different.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the when I'm first starting, like I would say it started for me with Yoga Nidra because that was the
Mm,
first time where like it was I was kind of directed through sensing myself in my
yeah.
body and kind of having to experience my attention, so to speak,
Yeah.
and how that created felt sensation. So like a tingle, a warmth, or something of that nature. So
Yes.
again, like if you don't know where to start, something like Yoga Nidra is a really great place to start because that's what helped me start to recognize. But like the language
Yep.
I normally use is like when you feel whatever it is that you're sensing, is it heavy or light, hot or cold, tense or
Yep.
loose? Is it in a specific space? Is it like pinpointed? Is it more broad? Just trying to get like this is a horrible analogy, but it makes me think of like a true crime something where they're like drawing a sketch of the killer,
Yep.
whatever, but like
Yep.
I'm trying to help my clients draw a sketch of their energy signature and
Hmm.
using like things like that because I really think that we are in a space of moving up Maslow's hierarchy of needs to really having our physical well-being
Hmm.
for most of us attended to, luckily and gratefully that we are in this unique time to emotionally and energetically evolve as a species. And it's kind of like a personal pursuit, but it doesn't
Yep.
mean you have to do it alone.
So true. I love that. I love that how you explain that. I think that's great to look at it that way is when you just allow yourself. And I think that as to what you're saying is just allowing yourself to see it, feel it, know it. Like sometimes it's just a knowing. Like I've been out on in nature and walking, and all of a sudden I knew that there was somebody standing in front of me. I couldn't see what it was, but I knew I couldn't hear anything, but I knew that there was something there. And instantly I asked, like, is this okay? And I knew from my guides, no, it was not okay. And I was guided of how to move it out of my path because that was the only way that I could get through. So there's sometimes a knowing. And I think if you're just open to allow yourself to just not think, I know that when you're just open to allowing yourself to feel it the way that it comes to you and trust it, like you talked about before, Laura, just trust it and trust that it's yours. Because if it's not yours, it can't happen for you by universal law. If it's not meant to be in your space, it cannot come into your space. So if it's coming to you, you need to know that it's happening by universal law because it has to and it's meant for you. And when you can trust that and know that, then you know that what you're feeling, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, knowing, it's exactly what's for you.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Shoot, I had another question.
Dude, we're gonna have to have you on again because I'm already late for a client
I
and
would love
it's
to. I would
fantastic.
love to. Yeah.
All right. Well,
But as we're closing up,
Mhm.
if people are interested in kind of healing, aligning, how would they find you?
Yeah. The best place for me to send everybody is my website. So www.tara dash, little dash sign, like in a telephone number, wisco.com.
Okay.
We'll put that in
Awesome.
our description too. So,
I
yeah.
appreciate it.
All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you for
Thank
tolerating the struggle bus.
no, thanks for having the struggle bus because that's where I feel most home. So thank you.
It was very much a pleasure to meet you.
You too as well. And I look forward to a future podcast episode with you again.
All right.
Amen.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good one.
Thank you. Have a good day.